Resuming. Weird World Order broadcast. Dialer phones connected. Initiating broadcast signal in
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, this is the Nerd World Order broadcast. I'm the man that you call Dukes, and to my right, it's all about the...
Booyah, what's up? It's your boy Joe, baby.
And to my other right, weighing in at 178 adamantium field pounds, coming straight out of Krakoa, Alfonso X-Man Flores.
Looks like it's going to be smooth sailing from here. That was Morph in the X-Men animated series right before he got shot dead.
Today, we are discussing Wakanda Forever. That's right. Alfonso throwing up the Kamehameha, not to be confused with the symbol of Tolakan. So, yeah. So, gentlemen, initial thoughts. What do you think of Wakanda Forever?
I'm still trying to process it. I think I've watched it's been a week. I'm still trying to process is it good if the movie would have been good if T'Challa character wasn't dead, they started off dead. And I'm perplexed with, Chadwick, whether or not, if it wasn't for Chadwick, would I like the movie the same as any other Marvel? Would I treat it as the same with any Marvel, like a Doctor Strange 2 whip-off kind of movie, which I think it is. It copies a little bit from.
Alfonso X-Man Flores, give us your positive review, your positive first thoughts of Wakanda Forever.
I really liked it. I thought they did a great tribute to Chadwick. I mean, I thought it was nice that they honored him and didn't, try to, recast him or do something else. I really thought, it was just well done. It was nice. It was a good tribute. I mean, there was a lot of emotion in this movie, and there was a lot of action. So I'm down.
And everything Alfonso says is everything that I didn't see in the movie. I feel like the rest of America, is like, oh my gosh, it was a great tribute. It was so emotional. It was so touching. And for me, I was just like, but was it a good tribute? No. It's like, okay, so T'Challa passed away. I feel like they did a great job of acknowledging that the character passed away, but at the same time, it was like the only other choice you had was just to recast him or to be like, oh, T'Challa is on a mission right now, so everything's going to happen while he's not here. I didn't really feel anything that said like they were doing a strong tribute to T'Challa or to Chadwick.
Well, to your point, the tribute was taken away when they killed the queen.
Oh my gosh. Dude, I had popcorn in my hand. I almost just threw up the popcorn and said, forget it. I'm done.
It took away from it, I thought. There was at that point, I mean, did they just do that for the end to try to snap Shuri back? The same line she said to T'Challa to show him who we are from the first one. Do you think they just killed her so she can come back at the end and flip her around from where the path she was going?
I think what they wanted to do was create this strong emotional turmoil for Shuri, where she had lost everything. Her kingdom was broken, her family was broken, and she had to decide which path she was going to travel.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, they had to break her down to completely nothing to just so that she could shine. I mean, they took everything from her, and she had to persevere because she's, well, at that point in time, she was a ruler of Wakanda. She had to come into her own some way, and she wasn't going to be able to do it with everybody there. With everybody dying and on her, it's like she's got nothing left. How is she going to fight for this? and she worked hard, and I think she persevered. I really liked what she did. Namor was definitely stronger than her.
Namor.
She had to find ways. Namor. It's
Namor.
what is it again? I don't know. Something. I forget the phrase. I had it a second ago. I loved it.
Child with no love.
Well. Yes, child with no love. El Niño. That's what it was. El Niño sin amor. So I thought it was nice. I was pretty impressed too with I mean, they're not Atlanteans anymore. What were they called again?
Tolokan.
Tolokan. Yeah. It was cool because they explained why they're so strong. I mean, if they're not that strong, they're not going to be able to survive the pressure at the bottom of the sea. So, I mean, that alone, and the way everything looked with the wings on his feet, he flew like as if the wings from his feet were carrying him, not like Superman who just propels himself with nothing, it's just like, oh, it's just thought, So there was the motion when that was really nice. He looked almost like a hummingbird the way he moved in and out of things. So those tiny wings were carrying that big man. And I thought it was a beautiful movie. I was surprised that you guys didn't like it. We hadn't talked about this before. And I was actually really surprised. I thought this was all going to be a love letter to it. So I'm curious to see what you guys have to say about this.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
So, lazy writing. Well, they're just strong because of the pressure at the very bottom. If DC did that, dude, Dukes would be all over that. What you just said right there. So, what do you think about the new Spider-Man series?
What Spider-Man series? The movies?
The movies that just came out. What do you think about those 3 movies to Tom Holland?
I like them. I like them a lot.
And then
the first one was definitely better than the others.
But you look at Tom's development from the first movie to the very end, where Far From Home, right? That big payoff, what he went through, that guy suffered. You're trying to tell me you're trying to do the same amount of impact in a 2.5 movie for Shuri?
Well, I mean, they're not going to sit here and make movie after movie after movie. They don't have Black Panther anymore. They don't have Chadwick Boseman. They had to do something.
The Russian. There was many different options, but they rushed her suffering. For me, it wasn't believable. Like in the comics, she's a badass. I mean, she's been fighting in the comics, and for people that don't read the comics are not going to understand the movie. All of a sudden, she has these powers and she can do these flips and stuff like that. With she's so close to her brother with her brother's death. She's so close to technology. The next thing she loves besides her family is technology. So if her brother dies, who she's really close to, she can't use technology to save him. What is she good for? You didn't need the mom dying for all that. She was already there. I think they just killed the mom so she can have a reason to change the way she thinks about killing Namor.
First of all, the whole pressure under the ocean is not lazy writing. People cannot survive down there. It's impossible. Submarines, if they're not properly reinforced, they'll just fold. So I don't think that's lazy writing. I think that's a really good speculation. But as far as what they did with Namor was actually really good because it's like you just have Aquaman come out for the DC universe and it's the same story. It's always been the same story from day one. But it's like, why? They can separate themselves from that a little bit. And I think they found a way to make it work, so. Dude,
it was so dark down there. You tell them, I'm bringing the sun to everybody. Bro, it looked like if DC before James Wan, I think that directed it. No, James Wan.
James Wan, yes.
Yeah. So James Wan says, hey, DC's dark, let's make Atlantean bright with colors. And then you get the DC version of it in Marvel. It's kind of like a twisted irony. Because that's how DC would have made Aquaman if they had a choice. Like pre-Discovery would have made Aquaman's world look as dark as that. I was just shocked to see how dark it was.
It's dark underwater. I mean, that's just the way it is. It's dark and there's a lot of pressure. So it's like they're dealing with something that's a little more real than like Atlantis is like shining and bright for no reason.
I really didn't take any sort of issue with being dark under, in Tolokan, because I feel like Ryan Coogler had the challenge of there's a well-established underwater ruler. He has a kingdom. We are going to be compared to Atlantis. So it's kind of like what Joe is saying in a way. Is like, well, we're just going to do everything opposite, like everything that Atlantis was. It's bright. We're going to be dark. It's like I felt like Ryan Coogler had to make some very important decisions, which is why he went with Tolakan instead of Atlantis, and which is why, in my opinion, it was really cool how he used actual Mayan and South American mythology to create that. I like that part. In fact, I like that part a lot. The underwater creating stronger beings, that didn't bother me that much, just because Shuri had to wear a suit when she was underwater. Now, I was wondering where that suit came from, because the first person wearing a suit just disappeared, right? Then the second person that was wearing the other suit got smashed up. So I guess we're to believe that some sort of way they ripped off that suit that was being worn by the first person, and then they just killed that person. But if that person was connected to the ship and to all the transmission, then how is it still working? Like, was it a self-contained? I mean, just that stuff, it just didn't make very much sense to me. But overall, I did like Dolakan. I did like the I was going to say the Atlanteans, but the people of Dolakan.
It's really hard not to call them Atlanteans, because it's just like, it's what you know. But
yeah,
yeah, it was, I don't know, man. I'm still beside myself that the fact that I totally thought you guys were going to be totally on board with this. I went by myself. I was supposed to go originally Saturday with some friends, and so it's like I didn't have friend reactions with me, to see how they felt about it. And we didn't really get a chance to talk much about it. But I had a funeral to go to Saturday, so I had the bow out of that. And I just happened to have some time after work because my wife was out of town. And I'm like, I'm going to go watch it by myself. I'm going to go sit in the Netbreaker seat up front because I don't care, because it's a recliner. So I'm going to lay back and I'm just going to enjoy this movie. And the crowd was, the theater was crowded. It was packed. Everybody seemed to, was really well received. I didn't really find a lot wrong with it. It's just, it was a way to get from point A to point B. We've got, I like the way the fact that they're going to have a new T'Challa who will eventually be the new Black Panther. He's 10 years old by the time they get around to another Black Panther movie. It could be 8 years later. He'll be 18. So he can be an adult. He could be the new Black Panther, and it can be T'Challa without having to recast Chadwick Boseman. And it's like, is he going to have to eat the fruit, or is he going to inherit the power? So Namor inherited the power. That was an interesting take, because all the other Black Panthers who had kids, they actually had to eat the heart-shaped herb in order to get the power. So it was interesting that Namor was able
Didn't his mom, remember they forced his mom to drink the vibranium. So he did get it in his system when he was a baby inside her stomach. Remember?
Oh, he did?
Yeah, you remember when it was the scene where she's like,
oh,
they tricked her to drinking the vibranium?
No, I don't remember that. Oh, wait, Black Panther?
No.
Namor.
In Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
Was she already pregnant when she drank that?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So then he ingested it through her. It's not like like Black Panther's parents or dad, drank it and then gave it and then passed it down through his genes. He ingested it at the same time. I got you. That makes a lot of sense. That cleared something up for me.
Now, here was my first immediate thought. Let me go true crime history on y'all. You're familiar with the term drink the Kool-Aid, right? So basically,
Yes,
there's
sir.
this priest called Jim Jones who says that there are people who are coming to invade his religious compound in Ghana. So he creates this compound, this drink, and he has all of his followers drink said drink, and they die. Which is exactly what happened with the people of Tolakan.
Yeah.
How dumb is that? They literally did a Jim Jones. Literally, God said, drink this drink, and we will be saved from our invaders. The only difference is they got superpowers,
Mhm.
and the people of Ghana died.
Yeah. Didn't that the god tell him to do that too? Because I remember
Yeah.
watching some videos and well, no, the actual god. The actual god, dude, that's in Thor. Well, they said that that god was in Thor.
Who Bass?
Both of them.
Oh, okay. Well,
Both of them.
Aztec one.
Yeah, both of them. Just
Uh-huh.
I saw a video. I don't know, YouTube. But
Look here,
yeah,
my dude.
Yeah, no.
so that was an actual god that said, "Hey man, if you drink this, you're saved." I mean, I guess to one's opinion, But in the 616, an actual god said, "Yo, my guy, you drink that, you're gonna live." Okay. Oh my God, the people
I really
do
hope-
this.
I really hope this doesn't open up the doors and the floodgates for new cults, because we don't need that in this world anymore.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, it depends on one's view of what they think is real and who they
Right.
actually think.
Right, but definitely it was a Jim Jones moment.
Oh yeah.
Okay, here's another problem I have with that entire thing. And I thought it immediately, and I was listening to another podcast, and they pointed out the same thing. Okay. I'm tired of hearing the word mutant. Like when
Mhm.
Ms. Marvel just threw out there, like, oh, you're a mutant.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my problem. If the explanation that they gave for how Namor became a mutant makes him a mutant, then Blade is a mutant too, because exactly the same thing
True.
happened.
I think what if they do make him a mutant?
I got 2 words for you: lazy writing.
Yeah.
I thought you were going Degeneration X on us.
Yeah.
This is
Well, that's
NWO.
3 words.
Yeah.
There's 3 words. I got 3 words for you. That's what I say to say phase 4.
Right. Yeah, but it's kind of like their explanation made absolutely no
Mhm.
sense, because if you look at it that way, then Blade mutated in the womb prior to
Yeah.
birth, but they
Right.
never have ever considered Blade a mutant.
No. I think they're just doing the cheap pops, like in wrestling, when they're like, "Oh, I'm chilling in Houston," and then the crowd goes crazy. Ain't that right, Houston? Because they throw mutants so casually. We've been waiting for mutants so long. You don't have to tease us. Like if we're so hardcore that when you bought Fox, we knew the mutants are coming. So you don't have to do these little, "Hey, let me will you in." We're already in. 1, because you're Marvel, but 2, we know the mutants are coming. There's little, "Hey, let me just throw this word mutant," to your point. In the other pockets, you're tired of hearing it. You rather see it. Don't imply it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and the way I understand mutants to be, they're born with a mutation. It's to me that makes Namor not a mutant, because it was something that was ingested. It was something. It's like, why isn't the Hulk a mutant? It's something that was done to them. Like a mutation is like when something is evolving. This is not an evolution. This is something that was done to him. So I've always known Namor as a mutant. As Namor, now I'm thinking, what? Maybe he's not. I wouldn't consider him a mutant. And then also, where did the power come from? Where did these asteroids with the vibranium come from? And I saw something about this the other day that made me think, and I'm like, well, it's like you got deposits here, there, and wherever, but you had a Celestial, you got Eternals, you had a Celestial that was basically using the Earth as an egg. So when like a bird is born from an egg, there's usually the yolk and everything that it'll eat off to sustain itself, right? So the first process of that. So the vibranium, they're saying, is kind of like that yolk. It's something that was put on the Earth for the Celestial to digest in order to grow into a big, strong, healthy Celestial. So now that there's no Celestial to ingest this, and people finding it early, like say the Wakandans or the Telekan, they're finding it early, right? So they're using this, and it's imbibing them with the powers that the Celestial had. So if that's going to be the case, is this going to be the source of the mutations? All this vibranium or whatever it was meant for, the celestial power. So then now Star-Lord's a mutant. The new Black Panther, T'Challa's son T'Challa is going to be a mutant, I don't know. What do you think?
So people probably don't know what you're talking about, Alfie, because you said the Celestials. No one watched that garbage of Eternals movie.
But they watched Guardians of the Galaxy or Celestials and that.
No, bro, they didn't even say anything about. That's actually from the comics, but they didn't do that in the movies. But before we get fact checked, Namor, the reason why he was a mutant in the comics is because of the wings on the feet. That's what makes him a mutant.
Right.
Yeah.
So he has wings on his feet now. That's what makes him a mutant, not the vibranium. Vibranium probably gave him the strength and all that stuff, but the winged foot just gives him flight. That's a mutant.
Oh, yeah, that could be his evolutionary. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, he got the power and he got a mutation. So that makes sense. I like that. That's a good explanation, Joe.
Yeah. And Huerta, he's a good Namor. So for me, I didn't mind, the how they create. I'm gonna be honest. I was cool with them the way they did it. I don't care that they're aliens or not. I don't really care for Namor in the comics, right?
Yeah.
But what I was hoping for, and the biggest letdown for me, is no Doctor Doom. So for me, I was really looking forward to that. I kind of was hoping I'd see something like that, and like your Mephisto, it just keeps disappearing.
I gotta tell you guys a quick story about a person who anti-spoiled me. This is the first time this has ever happened. So, like 2 weeks before the movie comes out, I go to see like Godzilla on the big screen. It's like the 50th anniversary, and I sit down next to this dude, and he goes, just out of the blue, I sit down. He goes, "Hey man, you seen Wakanda Forever yet?" And I said, "No, it's not out yet." He's like, "I saw it last week in Los Angeles."
He saw the.
You want to know who's in it? He goes, "But I'm trying to give you no spoilers." And I was like, "Nah, dude, it's cool. It's cool. I'm not trying to have any spoilers." And I go, "But I hear Dr. Doom's in it." And he goes, "Oh man, I'm not gonna say he is because I'm not trying to do any spoilers." So at this point, I'm thinking, "Damn, Dr. Doom's in this movie." So I walked around for 2 weeks just holding that in, dude. Like, Dr. Doom's in it. I sat through the whole movie.
Yeah.
Dr. Doom.
Well, because remember we were talking, and a lot of people were thinking those soldiers was from Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
And then
it was the French.
And then when you see the scene, and you're just like, yeah, Dr. Doom's not going to be in it.
I'm not a Dr. Doom fan like you are, Joe, but Dr. Doom sets up so much within the potential of MCU. Obviously the newest iteration of Secret Wars has a lot to do with Dr. Doom, so I figured like this would be a good time to bring him in.
Right.
But I can wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'll be nice.
I'm going to list off one of my complaints, gentlemen. This is the laziest of lazy writing. Like, I should have just jumped up and been like, lazy writing. Baby T'Challa. Not only is he a secret, so no one knows about him, but he's all recast. I'm like, what? They just basically said, well, T'Challa's dead. We're not going to recast him. We're just going to have this kid with the big smile come in and say his name is T'Challa Jr.
Yeah.
But no, that was the laziest of lazy writing. Oh, they had a baby and nobody knew about the baby. Okay, so you mean to tell me, like, T'Challa just decided, like, hey, rather than have my son learn how to be a king and learn how to rule and all this other stuff, I'm just going to have him grow up in Haiti with, like, no technology? No.
Well, now I'm thinking about this. It's funny because, like Shiri's going through her damage, Dylan, and the mom still can't tell. You know what I mean? Like, I think her whole attitude would have been different if she would have known she had a nephew, which I have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with him saying, hey, this is his son. I get it's the safest way to recast somebody. Right? He carries on.
Laziest.
It is, but that's why I said it's the easiest. So I don't have an issue with that because the way I think is before Quantumania or maybe after, they could tweak it however they want. Are they going to do a time skip? And if they do a time skip, they can have an older T'Challa, like a teenager getting ready to hit 18, maybe, you know, you can still be like Spider-Man because Spider-Man was 16 swinging around. That's T'Challa's. You can bring in Storm, and then we can have the T'Challa and the Storm.
Oh,
Because now you could do that. You don't have to worry about. I'm so bad with names. I can't. His mom. So you don't have to. You know, you can fix that because now you have Storm and the X-Men in. So like I was okay with that if they do it the way I think they should do it. But they probably won't.
I like that, Joe. I will co-sign that 100%. I'm down with that.
So let me tell you what Alfonso just heard. X-Men. Followed by, yeah, Joe, I agree with what you just said because you said X-Men.
I'm easy. I'm easy like Sunday morning.
I mean, I get it. I mean, if I look at it from that aspect, I like it.
Yeah.
So I don't have a complaint here, but I do have something that I noticed that really, is like interesting to me. I want to know what you guys think about that. What about M'Baku being the voice of reason? What was that?
I wish I had more lines from him.
Oh, he's really good. He is.
Yeah, he's really good.
But to be the voice of reason all of a sudden when he's like originally like, I'm taking over, get out of the way, mine, and now he's like, no, you know what? Maybe let's do this diplomatically. And I'm like,
yeah,
who's this?
But,
right?
But you know why it's believable? It's because they set that up in the first Black Panther. When T'Challa came and asked him for help. So that's when he started coming around and being more helpful, like that respect with for T'Challa and his family. So that when he has those little lines like that, that's where his character is going to go, which I was cool with because I just have an issue with they don't want big dudes like me being Black Panther, man. They want that little N-shaped, thin person, bro. Because I'm like, M'Baku could be Black Panther, man. And then you're gonna do my boy dirty. Oh, let's just make it to where now there's a king and there's a Black Panther. The king doesn't have to be the Black Panther. And I'm just like, come on, man, just give my boy M'Baku the freaking the BP suit, man. Come on, man. Big dudes can wear those too, man.
It'll be a little tight, but it's cool.
Yeah, man.
That was one of the few things that I did like about the movie was I thought M'Baku did show a lot of development. Like to your point, he goes from being like this. At first, he's fighting, and then slowly through the first one, he aligns himself with T'Challa's family, and then in this one, the Queen's chosen him to be the counselor for Shuri. That's super cool, And then even though he did sound like a complete punk when he's like, his people do not call him whatever. They call him Kuklakan, right? It's like, come on, man. Come on. Just like, why do you have to be scared, bro? But other than that, I was kind of like, okay, so he's trying to, he's trying to save the people. He's looking at it from a perspective of a leader instead of previously he was just a warrior.
Yeah.
So I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like that he got owned.
Yeah. He took a blow to the chest and he's like,
yeah.
I know how strong this guy is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing about that though, is it's kind of a setup anyway, because it's like we know that Namor is strong. And so he's basically about to punch a dude whose only armor is some wood, and he's a straight up normal dude. He was just set up to get knocked out.
Another thing is the Mega Man suit, Riri. The reason why I know they're trying to introduce her right into the the Marvel universe, but to use her to move the story along, reminiscent of the Doctor Strange 2 for me, like with Amanda Chavez. You're doing the same thing. Just to move the story along. And then, like now he loses. Oh, I don't care. We can let her live. Everything's all good. She's going to need me. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I thought that was like at the end when he said that, it was just, for me, it's too easy to just, they're going to need me before I need her. But although I did enjoy Riri, she was kind of funny. The girl that played Riri, she was kind of funny. But she didn't have to be in the movie at all. And I don't think the movie needed to be 2.5 hours.
Dude, you guys are about to get me started on this one. There was so much wrong with the Riri character. The only reason that she was in the movie was to set up her TV show that's coming out.
Yeah, exactly.
The only reason that they had Agent Ross was to set up Thunderbolts.
Yeah, bootleg Amanda Waller.
Right. And the only reason that Riri, okay, remember when they were running away from the CIA and the Tolakan comes out of the water? Bro, if I know, like, if someone said, hey, if you go to Alfonso's house, he's going to be 10 times stronger, you know what I would do? I would stay the hell away from Alfonso's house, bro.
Yeah.
I would go anywhere but Alfonso's house, okay? I'd be like, Alfonso, come over to Ontario. We'll fight there, right? But yeah, they're like, we need to escape. Let's go over this bridge.
Yeah.
Okay? And then when they fight the Tolakan, they're like, we need to trick them into coming and fighting us in the water. What? Your plan was to go to their strongest place possible and try to fight them.
Yeah,
you had
they
two
got
geniuses.
Yeah.
You had Riri Williams, I'm a
Oh, yeah.
genius, smarter than Iron Man. You had Shuri, I'm a genius, smarter than T'Challa. And their plan was to go to the one place where their enemies were invincible. That was their plan. That's what they came up with. They sat down with a piece of paper and a pencil, and they wrote that down.
Well, they're getting ready
Let's get on
to
a boat.
Well, they're just trying to show like how Shiri's so like upset and she doesn't care who dies to try to get her revenge. I guess they were trying to tell you that she'd go into some ocean and some enemy territory just to get her revenge and then come out on top being powerful, I guess.
Bro, if I went to you with a plan and I said, Joe, we're going to go steal all of Alfonso's comic books, but he's strongest in his house. We're going to his house. You'd be like, no, you're going to his house. I'm going to stay here.
I don't know, dude. If you started going to his house, I'm going to go with you. You know what I mean? I'm sure all three of us going to roll up to this role. You know what I mean? So it's like,
Wouldn't you look at me, bro, like, bro, that's a dumb plan.
oh yeah, no doubt.
Yet all these people just looked at Shuri and Riri and said, yeah, bet. Even M'Baku looked at them and said, yeah, okay. Yeah. We're already outnumbered. Now we're going to meet them at their strongest point.
Yeah. Was he even a good counsel at that point? Like he should have said, no.
He should have said, in case you didn't remember,
Mhm.
his people call him God.
He's a god.
That means, dude.
That's
So like,
funny, dude.
to your point, if it's a tribute movie, why even have Riri in there to say, like, you can't be a tribute if you're gonna, you can't trick me. That's why I told you in the beginning of this broadcast is like, if I took away the T'Challa element without Chadwick, would I sit there and think this movie was garbage? Because it's an emotional tribute, right? But at the same time, they're setting up 2 to 3 different things.
Yeah.
You're throwing out the mutant again, you know, and you're setting up the Thunderbolts, and then you're talking about like, you know, you set up Riri for her TV show. It's like, is it a tribute or is it not a tribute? It's not really a tribute. I think that's why it's 2.5 hours, maybe. I don't know.
It's a phase 5
Had so
setup.
much going on.
Yeah, because they just had to layer crap in.
Right.
Because they could have taken out that whole Riri thing because America or the world is still going after the vibranium. They didn't have to have Riri in there, which means they could have taken out that Thunderbolt aspect too, because Agent Ross didn't have to be in there either.
Yeah, because like it's just lazy. The more you think about it, if they were you didn't have to even have someone that created the thing to go out there. Right. If Namor has been there for a long time, he already knows about Wakanda. He knows how to get in there. Right. Obviously, all he needed was a reason. If he knew they were coming from the Barbarian because of them, that's his gateway to say, well, let's go. I'm gonna have a war with you, because in the comics they've been at war for years. So it doesn't take much for Namor to just say, you know what, I'm just going to kill these Wakandians. You know, like there's not much to push this Namor, and you're really teetering the line because I think they did Namor it was so done, him and his people. You're like, well, he's not a bad guy. Again, Marvel turns your villains into, hey, I guess I can see where they're coming from, kind of thing. Which that's what I like about Kang and Doom. They're just straight up villains, bro. They just want power. Same with Thanos. Even though like he wanted balance, that's for him. That's power. He'll do whatever he takes. Now, since Thanos, I mean, every villain is like they're bad, but then they're not bad. That seems to be their new formula. Which
I really don't care for. At this point, I feel like let's just go back to making villains. You know, like remember Red Skull? He just wanted some power, dude. He was just out there trying to, yeah. Would you like to know another complaint I have?
Yeah. Swing for the fences.
Okay. And now suddenly someone else has vibranium. What? Like it just, for me, it was so out of left field that Tolakan has vibranium. And here's the other thing. Somebody who, in my opinion, was Dr. Doom, that's my theory, which I'm going to stick with, was so smart that they figured out there has to be vibranium somewhere else, and it's probably in the ocean. But because the thought is like, okay, nobody knew that vibranium was around before, but they did, because Captain America's shield is made of
vibranium.
Which means at least from the 1960s, they were aware that vibranium existed. So people already knew for years that there was like vibranium and what it was. But like suddenly things have escalated and turned up and now it's in Atlantis. I'm sorry. I don't buy that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, why can't they just live under the city?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they really wanted to create that culture, Aztec culture, I think it was, right?
Yeah. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I want to say it's Aztec.
I believe it's Aztec.
But the only way they could give them a reason to go in the water, I guess I could see that's probably why they need vibranium. Or you could just go with the. Now we sound like those dudes. If you read the comic, if you just did what the comics did, there's no, you know what I mean. But then again, you're back to the Atlanteans.
Well, here's my thing. Okay, so the Tolakan have vibranium, but are they using it? I could never figure that out because they didn't have any technology because they were getting around on whales.
Yeah. That's another thing. I'm like, he obviously sounds like he's been there longer than freaking the original ones from Wakandians. It almost looks like he's been there for a long time.
Yeah.
So if he's underneath, you know what I mean? So I just don't understand, like, those many years he's been under there, you can't create something. So like all the Wakandians, they come smart, can create things. I don't know, dude. Well, because Wakandians, like, where on M'Baku, it seems like they don't even use technology up there. Because they're living in the mountains and they still hunt and stuff like that. Where you go to the Wakandian nation, like where the king sits, it's nice. Yeah. You got spaceships, you got all kinds of stuff, and I'm like, I don't know why they couldn't do that in Tolakan.
Yeah,
well,
right.
The Tolakan, they had to have their spears and stuff had to have been vibranium. They were decorated, but they had to be vibranium because they wouldn't have been able to withstand the blows from the other vibranium spears. So they had to have been. They at least used those weapons for that. They decorate them with shark teeth and whatnot because it looks cool.
And then another thing, so apparently now they go in the water where they're the strongest and they start dying. With the same weapons. I don't understand.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. And then there was a scene that someone else had to explain to me. When Namora, you know how there was that underwater sonic gun or whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And she swims up and she's able to basically destroy it. Was it ever established in the movie that she was stronger than other members of the Tolakan?
No,
Not really.
In the comics, she was just as strong. But to your point, no.
Yeah. And here's another thing. If I have a weapon, okay, this gets back to my worst plan ever. If I have a weapon that I'm using to try to, in some way, harm people who are underwater, that live underwater, why would I position said weapon underwater? Where only the people who you're attacking
Right.
can see it, and there's nobody there to defend it.
And that's not smart.
And this plan was devised by two of the smartest people in the world.
But if it was above the water, wouldn't it affect everybody else as well? I mean, it was just vibration, wasn't it?
At least you would figure, let's have somebody guard it. If it can only work underwater and it's your primary weapon, guard it.
Right. Put some lasers around it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, like, because Wakanda has all this technology, but they have no technology to defend their primary weapon.
Well, you always got to go back to the exhaust port. There's always going to be an exhaust port because
always. That's what they learned from Star Wars. Here's another thing. Okay, here's another gripe, if you will. Just griping. This movie should be called Wakanda Gripe Forever. Okay. I get that they're trying to show us the strength of the Tolakan. But it seemed like the warriors of Wakanda were completely ineffectual in comparison. Now, I get that the Tolakan were stronger. However, the Wakandans had frequently fought people who were stronger. I mean, dude, they fought the T'Chari, right? These huge monsters, and they were doing some damage. But for some reason, when they fought the Tolakan, their fighting style was very basic. Like, when the Tolakan came to Wakanda, I was like, really? You're just going to walk in my house and kick my butt? And my greatest warriors are just going to be ineffective?
they're just trying to show you how much more powerful they are, how much of a threat it's going to be.
Yeah.
You can be strong, but it's like, I don't even know this comparison or this analogy, but if you're training underwater, you're fighting to train underwater. When you fight above water, it's gonna change the way that you fight. Yes, you might be stronger, but you're probably going to overextend because you're used to fighting with that resistance and, to Alfonso's point, that additional gravity. But the Tolakan were just like, oh, we're just handling all these Wakandans, all the Dora Milaje.
Yeah. Another thing, dude. It seemed like he had less of an army when he went into Wakanda and dismantled everything and says, you got 11 days. Was it 11 or 10 days?
With his water balloons.
Maybe 11 days. I can't remember. He said you got a certain amount of days, but he kicked his butt. They kicked everyone's butt. To your point. And then the second battle, they go fight you on your home trip in the water, and I'm to believe they're going to lose?
Yeah.
The way they set up Namor and he came to Wakanda, I didn't have any doubt that he wasn't going to kick all their butts. Because you're just like, man, this is believable. They're not in the water, but hey, you got the jump on them. I didn't get that when Wakanda said, let's go to the water. And then to me, I'm like, no, a bunch of brothers and sisters in their water. Hey, we ain't swimming. So, swimming. You know what I mean? So it's like, bro, like, I don't believe that. I don't believe that, dude. I have a hard time thinking, oh, yeah, hey.
Tell you what, let me come back at you guys with something that I did like, right? So when we watched Black Adam, we all talked about Black Adam, and my complaint was that Black Adam wasn't pompous and arrogant like Black Adam was. Namor was pompous and arrogant in this movie, and he played that really well to a T. So, and I love the thing where he would always, he'd make a little threat, and then he, and then they would say something like when he threatened Shuri, and she's like, well, what if we just destroyed the world, or what if we tell the world about you? Well, then I pray for you, because he's like, because you're gonna get stopped. He was badass.
That was perfect. Like, everything about Joe. What's the actor's name again? Puerta. He nailed it. He killed it. The writing for him was amazing because he was so confident. He was just like, yeah, go ahead. Just I don't care. Do it. Because he just knew he would mess you up. And he did. I cannot complain at all about his character, his acting.
Yeah. He was so tough. You're like, man, I don't see them beating him. And, you know, then they did the little hot box, you know, I guess that's one way to beat him. But for me, even though that was a very thought out plan, I'm just kidding. There's no thought out plan. But their solution was to get him so hot he gets dehydrated and passes out, I guess. That's the only way you can stop it. But even then, I was just thinking in my head, man, I can't believe she beat him. I mean, even though she used the heat to slow him down, but in the back of my mind, for me, the journey for her to take the mantle, and it just wasn't believable for me. I guess that's the hard part I have struggling with it. And I like Shuri. I liked her in the first one, but it wasn't. It almost feels like you forced Shuri to be Black Panther for me. You know, which she does become in the comics, which I have no issues with, but I just felt like it was rushed. You know, like everything just seemed rushed to me. Like I get it. It's 2.5 hour movie and it is long, but it just seems like it's, you know, I think if they did like a Disney Plus with so much, you know, like you have 6 or 8 episodes, you have no time for the fluff. You just get in there to try to do the development. And for me, you can't trick me with I'm sad and my family is dead. I'm going to be bad. Now I'm good again. Kind of, I mean, it's in the movies a lot, but for me, it wasn't as believable. You know, her suffering wasn't as believable as Tom Holland's for me, just for me.
I was just going to say, you know, the whole thing with drying him out. I mean, that's classic, you know, anti-Namor weaponry right there. You know, they did it in the comics. They did it in cartoons. I've seen it like in the early 60s cartoons where it's like everything barely moved. They did it in the newer stuff. So I did appreciate that because that was a really good callback to, you know, how to weaken him so that they could fight him.
Right.
Okay, I'll jump on that one first, Alfonso, because here was the stupid in that plan. Okay, so Namor has a vibranium spear, and he's super strong. And they did no attempt to put reinforcements in that ship so he couldn't take said vibranium spear and just cut open the ship. So once again, genius number 1 and genius number 2, they got out this piece of paper and they're like, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to dry him out. We're going to put him in this box. Should we reinforce the box? Nah. And then when he's in said box and he starts ripping apart the ship, they're just looking at him. You have seconds to react, and they're like, dang, this is a problem. But they just watch him do it. And I'm like, your plan's falling apart. You're supposed to be these geniuses. And most shows that aren't good or very poorly written, movies, whatever, require characters that are supposed to be intelligent to act very stupidly. And at that moment, that was a stupid moment where they sat there, they stood there, and they watched him tear apart that ship.
That was really dumb.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something else. Now, here's another thing that Joe brought up. You want to hear about the laziest, worst funeral in movie history? They did the Queen dirty. Her death was so out of place that did they spend more than a minute giving her a funeral? They were just like,
no, I don't think so.
Oh yeah, we're just okay. We Queen. There's 5 of us. Got the ship, and up she goes into space. Moving on.
Yeah.
Her death was so out of place that they spent like a good 15 minutes memorializing T'Challa and Chadwick Boseman, and because they knew that this other death was like just it didn't fit, that they made it inconsequential by how quickly they had to go through the funeral.
But you know, the reason why they did that is what the last minute and the time that they did. Oh, we're taking away from actually T'Challa's death. Let's make it pretty quick.
Or
Yeah.
they've already gone over all the minutia of the funerals. Like we already understand what happens. They don't need to show it again.
Because it didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
Because it would have been repetitive. But oh my gosh, guess
Yeah.
what?
Mhm.
It was repetitive because it didn't need to happen.
Mhm. And then like, maybe I'm just tripping because like I did watch it at like 8 o'clock, after work, and I might have been tired. But when she was helping Riri up there, I'm like, then the next thing she died. I'm like, wait, she was already close to the top. I don't understand. Like, what at the last second she just said F it, and I'm just gonna sink down. Like, well, no, she did because she made it out of there. It looked like they just rolled her over, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So she makes it to the top only to die.
I was like, how's she dead?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, they're like, oh, let's use these beads to resuscitate her.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but the queen, she's dead. All
Yeah.
this technology, and I get that they had just been smashed up, but like, it just felt like, yeah, Joe, I was like, oh, she's still going to be alive.
Yeah.
But then she wasn't. I was like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And Namor is so dope. He already looked like a tough villain that you didn't have to kill the queen and make him more of a villain. He was, the good, I'm taking care of my people villainy. I mean, I'm okay with that sometimes. And that worked with him. I thought that you didn't have to kill the queen to put him over the top. He was already there because Huerta is such a good actor and portrayed Namor so very well that it's very believable.
Hey, I got a question for you guys. Either of you have wings? I mean, I know I don't, but why is it that when she ripped his wings off, I could feel that? That was tough. I was like, oh!
And another thing, did he grow it back? Or in the next movie, we're going to see 3 wings? Or did they rip it off and he sewed it back on? Or does it grow back?
I would think it would grow back.
Or maybe Apocalypse finds them to give him some metal wings.
And then you know what, too? Like, I was kind of thinking, like, so T'Challa already had, the flower in him, right? So, like,
Right.
or not Riri, but
Shuri.
Shuri's trying to create the same serum so to save his brother's life, but he already has it in his system. Or was she trying to create something different?
Wow.
That's a good question. Yeah, they were acting as if he didn't have it. Huh. Interesante.
Yeah,
That's
Joe
what you
just
ponder on, man.
Joe just shocked the world with that question because I'm like, man, he already had the heart-shaped herb in him.
He needed more.
Yeah, I don't know. But here's another complaint for you, gentlemen, since Joe brought it up. It makes perfect sense that Shuri would use technology in order to find a way to save her people, but bring back the Black Panther, if you want to call it that. But I'm Namor. And my dead mom gave me this bracelet
Mhm.
500 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give it to some young lady that I just met yesterday.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you, gentlemen, but my mom would just find a way to smack the crap out of me,
Yeah.
okay, from beyond the grave if I were to do that crap, okay? And it was something that they used to move the plot along, but it was very, very, very lazy writing that
Yeah.
he happened to give her the exact thing that she needed in order to create a fake version of the heart-shaped herb. Now, the only reason that would have made sense is if he knew that they did that, Wakanda didn't have any more of the heart-shaped herb, and she was trying to create another one through technology. But the only way he would know that is if he had spies in Wakanda.
But, and ultimately the thing that he wants is he wants Wakanda to side with him against the colonizers. So why not give them more power, right?
How does he know they don't have it?
Well, I mean, like you said, maybe spies. I don't know. If for some reason he knew that they didn't have it, he supplied it to them in one way or another. I mean, yeah, it's weird that he would give that gift to her, but again, she is a royal dignitary, and it's, it's respectful to give them a gift, something that means something. So maybe he was thinking in a royal way, but I don't know.
Give her a clamshell.
One of those
With the
little
diamond
mermaid,
in it? Or the pearl,
right?
Or the pearl, the clan pearl. It is the
Give her a pearl of wisdom.
the pearl of the Tolakan.
One thing. I'm not thinking off subject, but I was curious to see how you guys thought about Killmonger. We didn't talk about that at all, where she went into the ancestral plane and she ran into Killmonger rather than any other, ancestor.
I'll jump in, Joe, and feel free to just take this from here. That was probably one of the best things in the movie, because it did show that conflict, but it happened so late into the movie that it could have driven the entire story if it would have happened sooner.
Right.
But because it happened so late, I feel like that happened, and then there was like 30 minutes left. 30 minutes of like a 2 hour and 45-minute movie, and I had already had a couple of bottles of water. So I felt like it was really good. I felt like Killmonger killed it, but it just happened too late. It lacked impact.
Yeah. That would have worked better up front.
And they just rushed it. Here, I would have been cool, because like in Marvel fashion, they just validated that he's dead. But with Marvel, if you don't see them die, they don't die. So you had an opportunity to bring back Killmonger. I would have been okay with it. I don't even think people would be upset with that. But again, to the directors, I think this whole movie was just him, closing his relationship and a tribute to his friend. I mean, I see that, but yeah, for me, it's I don't know, man. It's like it was a good scene, and Killmonger could have totally just been the Black Panther. Like, and Shuri could have been the princess, with the queen. I don't know. There's, different ways. You still could have had Killmonger be Black Panther and still honor T'Challa. And I think T'Challa, I think Chadwick would be fine with, if they did, you don't have to recast a Black Panther. That's a new Black Panther. Yeah.
Well, I mean, T'Challa was trying to redeem him the whole time anyway, right?
Yeah. That could be his redemption.
Near-death experience, that's his rebirth like a phoenix.
Yeah, he find out, like his cousin dies, and that's his, his arc. And you can still honor, Chadwick, as well as you still have a Black Panther. Mm-hmm. I think Killmonger, he probably would. It would have been a good fight to see Killmonger against freaking Namor.
Oh yeah,
that would have been a good fight scene for me.
Before
anyone says anything, I have no issues with women being Black Panther. Shuri's great. I just think they did Shuri a disjustice for me, because there was so much. I felt her character development. I know where they're trying to go with it, for her to be strictly technology, and by the end of the movie, she's more spiritual. I get that, but it just felt rushed for me.
I agree, but I do have another complaint.
Oh, bring it.
Ioke. Let's say the general or the leader of the Dora Milaje. I feel like she made a lot of dumb decisions. Well, she made a big dumb decision. I feel like Riri wouldn't have gone with her back to Wakanda, but I feel like they needed to establish that relationship very quickly between Riri and Shuri. But I thought that taking Shuri on a secret mission was just a dumb decision.
Yeah.
And that was more lazy writing, because they had to do that in order to set up the conflict with her and the Queen. By the way, basically that entire conflict got erased within like 24 or 48 hours when the Queen died. So it's like, this is what we did. We created this big conflict only to erase it later. But I just thought that her character just wasn't portrayed or treated very well because she's probably my favorite character. And I just felt like she would have been smarter. I thought she would have fought better. I thought that the Blue Angel suit looked kind of dumb. And I feel like if you're this amazing fighter, you don't need this dumb suit. I get it. It makes them stronger and they're able to fight, more powerful characters and stuff like that. But my thing is like, okay, you need to still look like the Dora Milaje, still fight like the Dora Milaje, and wear this suit. Because by using the suit as the weapon, it takes away from the strength of these incredible warriors.
Right.
Yeah. And to your point, she makes her feel, it was a bad plan, but the queen makes her feel so guilty. Like, she turned her husband in because she believed in Wakanda. And she made a mistake, and you're just like, you're done. It's a wrap. Get out of here. And you're like, really? Like, how does that fit anything? Because she's such a badass. She's such a badass. Yeah. And I didn't think I thought she was getting the second time I don't remember the name of his second in command, the guy with the dope hat, the Dolikon with a dope hat. He was like the only one that had a dope hat that he was wearing.
Atuma,
yeah. Like the first time he destroyed her, and then I was like, all right. The second time they fought, I'm like, I wanted some type of like, she's such a badass. I don't think she should have lost the first time, but the second time, like, I don't know, like maybe giving her excuse. She was so sad because T'Challa's not here, and she was trying to get, her way back into graces, and she's gonna remember who she is, kind of moment, and then, beat up this dude. But I don't think it happened the way I swear our mind is our own worst enemy. Because we'll sit there and think of ways, they could have done stuff. And, obviously our way is not good because, we'd be making movies.
I got a lot of complaints, gentlemen, about this movie. But, Alfonso, I appreciate that you like the movie. Yeah. And I just had way too many problems with it.
I can't wait to watch it again because, I'm curious. I always like to see it in a different light.
Have you, so each of us only watched it one time, or have you, Ali, watched it twice?
No, I've only
I kind of want to watch it again just to see if I have different opinions about the movie. It'll be less emotional. Like the first time, like all of us was emotional trying to watch it, and I want to know, like, at the second time, if it's going to hit me the same way, or will I just accept it for what it is?
It's interesting because I feel like when I see other people's reviews and they like the movie, everything they say makes me like the movie less because I keep hearing people say it's a beautiful tribute to Chadwick Boseman.
Right.
But it's not because, we talked about how, like, it's a setup for Phase 5, how they killed the Queen, which detracts from T'Challa's death. It's basically like the same thing happens twice. The new T'Challa. It's like everything about this movie, as much as people say, like, oh, it's such a beautiful tribute to Chadwick Boseman. No, it's not. It's simply a way that they can move along the franchise and move along the MCU to Phase 5.
The first part was a beautiful tribute. Yes, it was. So the very first part. So then after that, then it became something else. But it had to. It couldn't have been the whole movie just mourning, T'Challa. It couldn't. But
you're right. But what Joe keeps saying, and he's absolutely correct, they tried to do too much and they made a big bloated movie. They put Thunderbolts in there, they put Riri in there. They put in some vibranium plot line. They just tried to put too much into this movie.
Yeah, that's what I mean. If you take the element of T'Challa out of there, would you revere it any differently? That's what I always ask someone who are like, "Oh, I love the movie. I don't know what you're talking about, Joe." And then I'm like, take out that whole tribute element. What would you feel like? Are you happy with what the movie is?
X-Men Alfonso Flores, can you give us your final thoughts on the Wakanda Forever?
Most certainly. Most certainly. Wakanda Will Forever was a visual tribute to Chadwick Boseman for about 15 minutes or so. Then it moved on, and I thought it was a pretty decent story. I really enjoyed the Talakan, Kukulkan.
Kukulkan.
I am definitely okay with the fact that Namor is no longer Namor. I am totally fine with that. I think they did that really well. And I love the fact that he was just a pompous, arrogant ruler the way he is in the comics.
So this concludes this episode of the Nerd World Order broadcast. Until next time, ladies, gentlemen, and knights of the Nerd World Order, I am NWO.
We are NWO.
Nerds Redefined. Booyah!